this is Oscar Mikey and welcome back to this Luck of the Irish Ironman achievement run. We're staying the course off the back of a particularly frantic episode, the first episode of this Luck of the Irish run. However, we play fast to both not waste your time and also get as much content in as few episodes as possible. All with a view of sticking to the theme and making this a sort of compact guide, as compact as possible. So we won our war with Scotland, obviously. And more or less now we're just focusing on a few goals. Number one, we gotta secure our alliance with France. It's going to be very useful in our upcoming war with England. We do need to improve our financial position somewhat. I'm just increasing my army size a little bit. We're going to need a large army to take down England all on our own. So, we've improved our relations with France sufficiently, and that should be enough for us to form a royal marriage. Yep, we're still 2 off. I believe we need to increase our relations modifier, I should say, with France by 3, and that will secure us the alliance that we so urgently need. Our truce timer with England's still up, so we can't declare war on them right away, not that we would. And then obviously and pivotally, in order for us to defeat England, we're going to have to secure that all-important military technology lead. So I am building heavy ships through the estates interaction. They'll be constructed in Lothian. I brought my army size up to a reasonable amount. We've got some monster separatists to deal with. And in addition to that, I'm just finishing off fabricating as many claims as I can in England. And once we got all those out of the way with, we will be in the home straight to take down England. I'll talk about that more close to the time, but for now, we're still in the process of tying up loose ends. We are still in negative stability, and we will need to cement that alliance with France very shortly. In order to do that, we're going to need to boost our diplomatic reputation, which can be secured through hiring an advisor or completing some of the requisite missions. We can't do that for now, we don't have enough money. But we expect to do it reasonably soon. In addition to that, I'm improving relations with Denmark. They are going to be a second ally. They're not going to join us in an offensive war. But what they will do is protect us for when our truce time with England expires. So we're now in the position where we can finally ally France. We completed our mission, improve relations with Savoy. And there we go, alliance secured. Truce timer with England will expire in 1 year. Very important that you secure that alliance with France before that truce time expires, and if you don't, well, England might come knocking, so bear that in mind. And if they were to wage a war against us, an offensive war against us, we wouldn't stand a chance. We're simply not in a strong enough position, we wouldn't be prepared. Defeating England is all about preparation. In order to defeat England, we're going to have to plough a lot of administrative power into development, take out an inordinate amount of loans. I mean an inordinate amount, excessive even for my level of guides. I mean, this is going to be, we're talking about a lot of loans here, so you'll see closer to that time, but for now, just basically speeding up time. Got just under 2 years for our heavy ships to complete. They're going to be semi-useful against England. It depends. You can put them to good use. Just seeing how much money we get for them. Absolutely nothing. So that's not an option. But we will be employing them in the future. Yeah, no one wants these ships. Just wasting a bit of time here, basically. Making sure they're mothballed so they don't bankrupt me. Agricultural revolution. Well, that's nice. Fairly obvious decision, boosting the base tax. And we're making decent money, but we are going to aim to try and secure reducing those loans as possible. Let's see how large England's army is. It's 17,500 now. Truce timer will expire shortly. They are at war. England was still giving us subsidies all this time, so that's interesting. Now that those subsidies have expired, though, we will be placed into a more disadvantaged financial situation. So I haven't finished fabricating my claims in England now. Had I done that, and if the truce timer were to expire right now, I would probably just go ahead and take out the loans, burn my development now, and declare war on England. That would put us in a position where, if we won, we would be able to get the achievement, the Luck of the Irish achievement, well in the sub 1500 range. As it is, truce timer hasn't expired. And we'll stay close this time. Basically, we're just playing this opportunistically. Robber barons. I'm getting a lot of free development here, which is actually incredibly nice. Since we are currently basically debarred from expanding in any other direction aside from England, getting extra development really boosts our overall strength. Allows us to field larger armies at less cost. We've still got our trade ships. Haven't forgot about them all this time. Okay, so, well, we've been placed in a Regency Council literally the month before our truce timer was due to expire with England. Once that truce timer had expired, it was my intention to declare war on England immediately, given the fact that they're currently bogged down in a war with Castile and Navarre. And they have reduced army size. We checked, they were below 17, around about 17,000 troops in all, which would have been no match for our offensive capabilities. So basically, if you've got to this point, I mean, France is now giving us subsidies. So I mentioned in the last episode, forgot to mention it here, that one of the advantages of allying France and improving your relations with them is that they will give you a very generous amount of subsidies. 3.84 ducats per month, I believe that was, is extremely useful. Now, going back to the theme here, here's the deal. When you start a Leinster game, one of the disadvantages is, I am at my diplomatic power cap. Let's go ahead and improve our technology. As I was saying, see if I can finally get this train of thought out. So, you start with a very old faction leader, which means that almost inevitably, unless your faction leader ends up being like, I think 70 or 75 years old, you're going to be placed in a Regency Council. It's pretty bad luck that Regency Council was induced literally a month before the truce time expired with England. But you know, this is how it goes. You're not in control of every event. There is still a lot of random number generator influence in this game. It would have been the perfect time to declare wars. You can actually see England is currently, their land armies are in Castile. So we would have literally been able to simply occupy all of England's home provinces. And that would have put us in a position where we could complete this achievement sub 1500. Getting that Regency Council is going to push us way back. We're not going to be able to achieve this under 1500 now. You may be able to using this strategy. The number thing you want to do is exploit England when they're in a position of weakness. However, we're going to press ahead because this is going to afford me the opportunity to demonstrate an entirely new strategy. We'll not focus on waiting until England's blown up in another war. What we'll do is we'll wait until we've got our faction leader and we'll attack England from when they're in a position of strength, just to demonstrate how to prosecute an offensive war against overwhelming forces and still prevail. we're still going to get the achievement. There's no question. It'll push us back a little bit. You see the war with Castile has expired for England now. We can cement our alliance with Denmark, which I will do, since they are extremely strong, and that will help protect us from England. England secured as part of the concessions to that peace treaty. Navarra, and I believe that's Vicasia in northern Spain, says cementing our alliance with Denmark, also in the hope that they might give us subsidies as well. It's not likely, but there we go. So with the advent of this Regency Council, we're still going to aim for the achievement as quickly as possible, but we're going to use this opportunity to demonstrate that even if England is relatively strong, you can take them down with our lowly Leinster. It is going to require a lot of loans. It's going to tremendously batter our economy and significantly contribute to aggressive expansion. But I get so many... Oh, France is at war with someone. Okay, well, France is going to win that war, suffice to say, so they're not going to call us in either. Yeah, so I get some of the comments and feedback I get from these guys is a lot of people aren't necessarily content with, you know, at least when I look at other guides that people produce, oftentimes the guides are somewhat manufactured in that they kind of rely upon external events to influence the overall outcome. I want to now demonstrate for the purpose of this overall Luck of the Irish achievement is that you're not at the mercy of external events. You can, for instance, take down England with France as an ally, more or less by yourself, and that's what we're going to do. I'm totally confident we can do that. Why do I say that? Because I've done it before. Yeah, this is more adhering to my like my Granada guide as well. Aims to minimize luck insofar as possible. My Granada guide is an example of where they basically threw everything but the kitchen sink at me, and as part of this Luck of the Irish Ironman achievement run, we may face the very real possibility that this kitchen sink as well is going to be thrown at us, if you follow me. So for now, we're just speeding up time and we're waiting. We're stuck in that Regency Council. Once it expires and we finish fabricating claims in England, it's time to attack. With the view of not wasting a single second of your time and getting this over with as quickly as possible. And so now, whilst we're locked in this Regency Council, there's not really that much to talk about. I'm just boosting relations. Court Painter available, always nice to gain some increased stability. It more than makes up for the loss of stability we received earlier on. So we're not doing too bad. Keeping advisors in the essential slots. Administrative and military, because we need administrative for all the coring we're going to be doing later on, and we need, if we're going to have any chance of taking down England, it's pretty obvious that we're going to need an advantage in military technology, and that's what we're going to have. Yeah, so England is actually in a relatively strong position than they would be ordinarily. They've actually conquered 2 additional provinces. In addition, they've got the not unformidable Margaret of Anjou, which is an event that fires very often. I remember that way back, England used to be in a dreadful starting position. The War of the Roses had less than a 50% chance of firing, and there were no Margaret of Anjou events, which meant you were almost inevitably stuck with your 0-0 faction leader. A lot has changed since then. England now has a relatively stronger start, given the fact that they don't start at war with France. War of the Roses fires more often, which is a good thing, and you get access to Margaret of Anjou, like I said. Which complicates our position tremendously with Leinster. It's brought to my attention that in subsequent... So we lost our military advisor. That's a shame. We're going to have to hire a new one. We're about to become unstuck from our Regency Council. So it's brought to my attention, and I didn't actually notice it in the next patch, some significant changes are coming to Ireland. Namely, they're adding more provinces. Not sure if the same's true with Scotland, but that's all I've heard so far. So it'll be interesting to see if it makes it harder or easier to completely lock the Irish achievement. Maybe worthwhile revisiting that when that time comes, but for now, we're sticking to this fairly resilient strategy. 2 loans left to go. Anti-clericalism. So we're not actually doing too bad in terms of our events here. We're getting our fair share of good events. Probably better than average. Well, we have reduced loyalty with the Merchants Guild, but I suspect that that's just going to be par for the course. Always demanding administrative and military support, as well as diplomatic, whenever we can. Because if you use those interactions wisely, that will always allow us to keep ahead technology-wise of our rivals. End of Castilian War. That's probably why they lost to England, because they were in the midst of a civil war. Alright, just speeding up time. 5x most of the time. One of the disadvantages... There we go, there's our faction leader finally. One of the disadvantages of playing at such speed is you very frequently make mistakes. And sometimes you're not able to enter into the more nuanced gameplay that I could otherwise. Good practice for multiplayer though. Haven't played EU4 multiplayer in a while because of the desync issues. Also owing to the fact that most people, the game is usually done within the first 50 minutes, so not sure if that's improved since then. Well, I'm way off on a tangent, just trying to make use of downtime. So France will join our calls to arms on the condition that we provide them with territory. You see now why it was so important to transition from alliance with England to France early on. Given the fact that we're allied with Denmark and France right now, we are not at risk of being declared war on by England. If we were only allied with France, the risk would be a little higher. Now, you did see there, I was checking the military comparison, and I noticed that England has 29,000 troops in total. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a heck of a lot. They will probably have more than that when it's time to declare war as well. And they have a high army composition and cavalry. We, by comparison, have 7,300 troops in total. Not ideal. Very much a David versus Goliath matchup, but that's the whole point of this Lock of the Irish run. So why did I just split up all my ships and move them around the coast of England? It's purely for scouting information. I want to see the composition of their army. In addition to that, I want to see exactly where they are. For instance, if all of England's troops are parked in London in a single godly death stack, then that would indicate to you now is not a good time to declare war, and I will not as a result of gathering that information. Good news is we're doing great in terms of our conserving military monarch power. It's our truce timer with France has expired. That is because, remember, we were at war with France whilst waging our offensive war against Scotland. We did very early on. And because we didn't write peace with France, we received the full truce timer that we would have received, that we did receive with Scotland. But that truce timer prevented any silly nonsense happening with France, so that's fine. Alright, improving relations with every conceivable faction. Austria, Portugal, Castile, Aragon, Savoy, Denmark, you name it, all with the hope that maybe they'll give us subsidies like France did. Also, we can secure any additional alliances, that'll be great. Oftentimes you will be able to secure alliances either with Aragon, Portugal, or Austria. Yep, still speeding up time, just burning through time until we get to the really challenging part of this strategy. Okay, so we have downtime. I'm recruiting some additional regiment. Let's talk about army composition. The ideal army composition for the ideal army size, which in this period of the game is 16,000 troops based on the supply in each province and relative combat width, is 10 infantry or 6 cavalry. If you're fighting in high supply provinces and grassy plains, then you want 10 infantry and 8 cavalry, or 12 infantry and 8 cavalry for the max amount. Cavalry should always be chevauchés, named after the English tactic of raiding France in the 100 Years' War, which was just pillaging through northern France with the view of aiming direct confrontation. We're at our military par cap. One of the disadvantages of playing really quickly, we oftentimes hit the cap without realising it. Although we do get a pop-up now, which is great. It's going to save me so much monarch power overall. England dealing with a few rebels, I see, down in Cornwall. Lollard heretics. Their total army size is now 30,000, so it's actually increased. Great. Well, we're going to have to take them down and many more if we're going to want to defeat England and complete this achievement. So what was I talking about? So before I was talking about army composition, okay, army unit types. And this is where it gets more interesting. Longbowmen, men-at-arms, or Galloglytic infantry, or as they're otherwise pronounced, Galloglass infantry, named after a type of Irish infantry unit. The Galloglass. I think that your best bet is men-at-arms because they offer the best defensive morale, which allows your cavalry to do the work in... we will not accept this air because 222 is abysmal. Yeah, men-at-arms seems to be the go-to choice. Longbowmen have advantages as well. Galloglytic infantry or Galloglasses or whatever the heck you want to call them are good for very quick battles where your sole aim is to win the battle very quickly, no attrition, get in there, win the battle and stack wipe. Very good at fighting armies that have inferior army morale or inferior numerical numbers. For this strategy, even though we're going to be going up against overwhelming numbers, I will be employing Galloglass infantry, and you'll see why. It's because my focus is always split the enemy army up, go for these smaller components of the enemy total forces, seek to wipe that out in quick, decisive battles, and keep doing that until you're in a relatively strong position. That's always been my strategy, and it always will be. Never go for the one-on-one set-piece engagement, the pitch battle. Always seek to divide and conquer. That's the maxim, and that's what we'll be employing. It works equally well in Europa Universalis 4. So again, I'm not really doing much at the moment, just biding time until the right time to strike. The right time to strike will be when I've accrued sufficient financial reserves, and that should include having paid off our loans. In addition to that, we're going to need a decent general. If we don't get a good general, then we'll just have to keep re-rolling generals until we do. If you're fighting superior forces, always a good idea to go to the States interaction to recruit a general, or just keep rolling generals using military pot until you get something with at least around 3 shock and 2 fire. Speeding up time here. In addition to that, we're going to need a decent military advisor. So let's keep re-rolling advisors. Land maintenance modifier. Not actually too bad an idea. And the reason why is we're going to be going way over our land force limit modifier. So land maintenance modifier, although it won't contribute to our direct military power or relative strength in relation to England, it's going to actually be pretty useful. And by going over the going so far over the land force limits, land maintenance modifier reduction's not a bad idea. So it's just burning off some monarch power into technology, and we're gonna focus very shortly on this war with England. So how many troops do they have? They have 31,000 troops, and they're all located in England. How are we going to deal with that? Seems almost suicidal. But I've fought enough of these wars against overwhelming superior numbers to know how it's done. So what type of army composition I'm going for, and bring myself up to the total land force limits. It'll be all regular troops with as fewer mercenaries as we can afford at the start. We transition into mercenaries to replenish or depleting troop numbers as the war progresses. Don't ever start with mercenaries, obviously. In addition to that, always make sure your mercenaries are pure infantry. Never recruit mercenaries that are cavalry because they're too expensive and they're not worth it. Besides, cavalry often or always take less casualties than infantry by the nature of the shock phase. Alright. Looking to see if I can get a diplomatic reputation advisor. Well, not going to say no to a 445 air. Even if they do have low legitimacy. Low legitimacy can sometimes be more trouble than it's worth, but with 445 Monarch Pod, that's 4 points above average. Cardinal in administration. Always a good event to take. Getting a lot of these religious events. And improving relations with France all the more. So obviously the fact that we're getting subsidies from France is going to be absolutely indispensable to us. We wouldn't be able to perform this type of strategy without it. However, I have predicted with quite alarming regularity when and how much our neighbours give us subsidies. I started with England, I was right about that. Started with France, also right about that. They like to give you subsidies. So England now has a total army size of 33,000 troops. It would seem our chances of defeating England all by ourselves are getting slimmer by the day. We have decent prestige though. It's too bad we're not able to rival England. If I could, I definitely would, because that would give us tons of power projection in acquiring territories part of war. As it is, we're not able to, and we're just going to have to deal with that. We will not be giving military access to England. I don't actually know what they want it for, but no way. So, more or less now we're waiting for our military technology level to get to level 7. That's going to be the trigger for a war against England. How many troops now? 34,000 in total. England's about as strong a position as you could possibly expect them to be for a royal marriage with France. Let's go ahead and renew that. Yeah, England is fairly strong. Always checking to ensure to see if I can get any additional alliances with some of the major powers. We've got all our claims fabricated in England. I did see something useful from our trade ships doing reconnaissance. It seems that England has apportioned 5,000 of their troops in Yorkshire, and we're certainly going to take advantage of that. Just being up time now, waiting for us to get that all-important military technology level 7. That will give us the technology level of England. It's not the biggest advantage. Going from 6 to 7 is a nominal increase to your military tactics, I believe, and certainly doesn't give you any new unit types. But we need every advantage we can get. If we did have access to diplomatic reputation advisor, I would probably be able to ally Austria or Portugal, but I'm not going to waste money so far progressed now when we've got an upcoming war to go. So yeah, okay, so military technology level 7 gives increased fire, increased shock, and increased military tactics level. So it's not a bad. It's pretty good. And the increased shock is definitely going to help our army composition, which is going to include a lot of cavalry and a lot of very high shock value gallows glass infantry. And we got another rival slot, so if I say we will not be rivaling Denmark because they're currently our ally. And we've accumulated 5 favours with them. Not enough, though, to have any chance of calling them in against England. And we couldn't promise them territory either. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here. The next episode, we are just about to declare war. Another cliffhanger here, unfortunately, but literally, next episode, we're straight into this declaration of war. So I'm going to take my military tech level, and I'm going to declare war at the start of next episode. We'll see how that goes. I'm Oscar Mike. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.